Welcome to another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Pub Sports Radio, Tuesday, December 20th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack, back with you, ready for a Tuesday college basketball slate. A little bit more meat on the bone tonight with the card compared to last night. I just realized now I was going to get into the games. Mississippi State and Drake has already tipped off. I was hoping that was not going to be the case, but they have already tipped it off. I'm on Drake plus the points. +5, +5.5. If you want to bet it live, you can. Conor, did you have anything on that game?
Yeah, I'm on the under 130.5 in that game. And it was interesting. It went down, moved back up an hour ago to 130, and it came back down. I still think you can stay under right around there if you got 130, 129. But there's some good games today. Yesterday was good, except for the Jackrabbits. I don't know what the hell was there, but other than that, it was 5-1 night. So let's get it rolling.
Yeah, I lost in that game too. I had the over, and you had the side. You had South Dakota State, but we both lost for the same fucking reason. They couldn't make a shot. South Dakota State, absolutely pathetic offensively in that game. It is what it is. I split the best bets. The other one was an outright winner as a 15-point dog. Arlington beating San Francisco outright. Was very happy to see that. So no harm, no foul with the 1-1 split with best bets. But on to tonight it is. Let's go to Duke and Wake Forest. We've got Duke 6.5, 7-point favorites, 141.5. I'm going to be on Wake. You could have basically figured that out before the show started. Look, I think Duke's probably the more talented team. I don't doubt that. But Wake Forest at home, catching these 6.5, 7 points as home underdogs. This is the first true road game of the entire season for Duke. They have not been in an atmosphere like this yet, where they've had to basically, go on the road like this in a true environment. Now, they have faced a lot of good teams early in the season: Kansas, Xavier, Purdue, Ohio State, Iowa. They've definitely, this Duke team, been battle-tested, probably more so than Wake Forest. But also keep in mind, Wake does have a couple nice wins on the resume here, including the win against Wisconsin on the road earlier this season. Should be a great matchup. Of course, Kyle Filipowski's been great for Duke, the big guy. They've gotten Derek Lively, DeMarc Mitchell, Tyrese Proctor, Derek Whitehead stepping up, Jeremy Roach. Keep in mind, he has been banged up for the Duke Blue Devils. We'll see if he's able to play tonight. Been battling a toe injury, questionable for this game, and they're going to miss Whitehead and Lively out due to illness for Duke tonight in this game. Yeah. Money's come in on Wake. I agree. I think it's a close game. I think Wake gives them a game. Duke is still, I think, a little bit at the offensive end, not quite the team we've been accustomed to in the past. Usually we think of them as a team that's got no problem putting the ball through the basket, but they're only 213 in the country in field goal percentage. And I think when you look at this matchup, there's things Wake can do maybe to bottle them up here in this game. I think that's something you want to keep an eye on in this one. I like Wake here getting the points. What do you think here, Conor? Duke, Wake Forest.
Yeah, you mentioned Duke not great shooting it, but they've been good defensively this year, right around 20, top 20, right in that area all year long. This one's easy. I think Roach is a go from what I hear. He's rested. I think he's going from everything that I've looked up today. You know what? I remember this game last year because Wake really didn't step up and beat teams last year when it mattered. But they are catching points. They lost by 14. But in years past, I always remember Duke struggling here. It's not a long trip, obviously, but and Duke fans will be there. But I haven't bet it, but I lean with Wake in this one. Shout out to Preston. He's on Wake Forest, and I like the other game we'll get to, Providence. So I lean that way. Appleby, obviously, he played. I don't know. He hobbled around. He did all right, but didn't shoot it great. So that's a key because he's the guy. They need to get some good help tonight, especially down low because, like I mentioned in the beginning, Duke's defense has been excellent so far. So, but I'd have to lean the points. Not easy. We'll get to a few more games to win on the road in the ACC and cover a number like this. Win by 9, 10 points.
All right, next up, we've got a Big East matchup, old school Big East matchup, Georgetown and UConn. UConn 21-point favorites, 147.5 being the total in this game. I'm not really going to overthink it. I'm not really going to overcomplicate the game at all. I'm going to do a UConn first half full game split. I mean, I know it seems ludicrous to be making a 21-point favorite, putting UConn out there as a 21-point favorite in a conference game, in a Big East conference game. But the fact is, UConn isn't just beating teams; they're beating up teams. I mean, to go to Butler, who's a pretty good team this year. Butler's not chopped liver. Thad Matta's group can play solid defense. At Butler, it's always a tough place to play. UConn went in there and just punked them, 68-46. Won by 22 points as 7.5-point favorites. They are, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with, and UConn basketball ain't nothing to fuck with right now, if you ask me. So I look at this matchup as, look, I don't want any part of Georgetown here in this game. We've already seen them get blown out on the road by teams that probably aren't as good as UConn. I mean, they lose by 14 at Texas Tech. They lose by 19 at Syracuse in their only other Big East road game. So I'm not even overthinking this. We know we've got the much better team, the much better defensive team, and it's not even close with UConn in this game. I know they play Villanova coming up after the Christmas break, but that's still 8 days away. I mean, I'm not counting that as a look-ahead spot. This is their final game before Christmas. I think they bring it here. It's a home game in the conference. I don't think Danny Hurley's going to let his team look too far ahead. They're a great defensive team, elite rebounding team as well. In terms of offense, they get inside-outside contributions from Hawkins, Caraban, Newton, Andre Jackson Jr., the big man. Adama Sanogo is one of the better big men in college basketball. Too much for Georgetown, in my opinion. So I'm going to go a first half full game split here with the Huskies. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, I mean, this is quick for me. I mean, it's just UConn. This is a ton. It's crazy. The number would be this, but UConn's just been that good. I mean, I think you take them. Georgetown's defense is that bad. I know, and UConn's defense has been amazing. I think they covered too. I mean, could there be a backdoor? I'm not going to bet it. Yeah. And I think UConn can get over their team total, 84.5, 85.5.
All right, definitely. I agree. I mean, UConn is showing even in conference game. I thought when conference play started, they'd stop murdering teams and they'd stop just destroying teams left and right, because teams in the conference know you a little bit more. And then they play Butler and they win by 22 on the road, and it's like, man, this team's not messing around right now.
And people were betting Butler.
Yeah,
real quick, like in that, thinking that this was going to be the slip up, that number was shrinking, but then they just blew them out again. Another team.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. And look, UConn hasn't failed to cover as yet this year. 9-0-1 against the spread. So even with the inflated numbers, they're still cashing tickets left and right for their backers. They probably will again tonight. All right, Elon, the Phoenix against the Indiana Hoosiers. We've got Indiana big favorites here, 29.5, 41 being the total in this game. Elon's been a competitive upper half of the conference, CAA Colonial Athletic Association team in recent years. You look at them away from home, fairly competitive in a lot of their games lately. I mean, early in the season, not so much. I think their only comparable was NC State, 25-point dogs. They lost by 11 back on November the 19th. You do have Indiana off a loss at Kansas where they got absolutely destroyed, 84-62, a bit of a comeback down to earth for this Hoosiers team. And that was on the heels of an Arizona loss, 89-75. So schedule's gotten tougher here for Indiana, and we're finding out that they're a pretty good team. I don't know if they're on that elite level contending team for the title yet. They're not there yet, Indiana. I think the last two games have kind of proven that with the Hoosiers. As far as Elon goes, they're a really rough to trust offensive team, struggle to shoot 300s in both field goal percentage and three-point percentage. Defensively, not great, and Indiana could rip them apart on the glass in this game, get easy putbacks. I think Indiana might pile on points. So I'm thinking maybe here in Indiana, not so much laying the points, but maybe a team total over with Indiana, maybe the full game over too, because I think you could see Indiana, like I said, pouring it on. I don't know how much offense you're going to get from Elon, how many points you're going to get, but I think Indiana team total over or a full game over split is kind of what I've got in my mind here for this game. What do you think, Conor? Elon, Indiana.
I don't trust Elon. You mentioned it, to score. I mean, they've lost to Presbyterian, Valpo. When I see these 30, I'm like, I want to take these points. I can't do it. You mentioned Indiana just got punked at Kansas. We did that game. That was the game Saturday live. I jumped on with Cav, turned the ball over. But this should be a great spot to get right. It's just, good luck. You want to lay the 30, go ahead. I mean, I don't know. What is their team total? Do you know? I couldn't find it.
Team total for Indiana in this game, it is currently in the it's up there. It's in the 96 range. Yeah, with the team total.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Huge number. Yep.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah, damn is right. Huge number. We're talking about with that team total between these two. No, not 80, 84 and a half. What am I saying? 84 and a half is the team total. Yeah, it's not that high. I'm looking at something else, another game here. Yeah, 84 and a half. 84 and a half is the team. That's more doable. Actually, I think they can hit that. 84 and a half with the team total for Indiana. I'd lean that way. I think that's the best way to bet it, even more than the full game over, because you just don't know what you're going to get from Elon in this game. All right, let's move along to Marquette and Providence. It's a night of Big East basketball. We got 3 Big East conference matchups, and this is another one. Marquette and Providence pick 'em here in this game. The total currently a 149 and a half across the board. This is a good game. I don't have a strong feel for it. I know one thing. I'm not ready to bet against Providence on their home floor. They're 7-0 this year, straight up. Only 4-3 against the spread, but how many times have they been a pick'em situation here on their home floor? Providence did have a nice road win at Seton Hall, 71-67. 4 straight wins and covers for the Friars. 3 straight wins for Marquette after an overtime loss to Wisconsin. They have a beat down over Baylor on their resume as well. 2 really good teams. Very tough to choose between them, but I lean slightly to Providence here. I would, just because of the home court. That could be the difference maker in the end. Keep in mind, last year these teams met and the home floor stood tall in both games. Marquette with a blowout win against Providence at home, but Providence returned the favor with a 65-63 win at home. I think the under might be worth a look, because Providence doesn't want to get in a track meet here and go up and down with Marquette. Marquette wants to get the pace. Marquette wants to get the tempo and the transition going, a game going, but Providence does not want to play that way. And sometimes I find in these games with 2 competitive, evenly matched teams, home team sometimes dictates tempo. So I think in that case, that could be Providence. So Providence, I'd lean under. I'd lean as well. Conor, what do you think here? Marquette, Providence.
Yeah, I like Providence here at home a little bit. You mentioned Marquette can score and get here. The only thing is Providence really hasn't played anybody, but I think they should be, popping there. Dunkin' Donuts Center, if it's still called that, should be rolling. I think they win. I think this game could be close. And the lone key, especially Marquette, they just get hot shooting it, get up and down. If they don't, Providence wins this one at home.
It's definitely a correlated type of game, too. If you like Marquette, you probably lean over the total. And if you like Providence, you probably lean under the total. Billy Briz, welcome in the chat. Billy Briz has been in the chat lately on our show. It's good to see. But it does bring up a good point. It's breaks. It's exam week. It's all this shit that leads to a minimized, diminished home court advantage.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
Yep.
This should be okay. But a lot of those small schools, I mean, the crowd should be decent tonight. But a lot of these small ones, like we mentioned yesterday and all that, oh, yeah. There's nobody there.
I find it makes more of an impact in you're right, those smaller conference games, those mid-major games. I mean, you look at it, there was a pretty empty atmosphere in San Francisco, and don't tell me that didn't impact how lethargic the Dons looked last night against UT Arlington. And sure enough, UT Arlington beats them outright. This is different. This is a Big East game. Marquette's a good team. It's become 2 of the better teams in the conference, we think, this year. I think there's going to be a decent turnout for Providence kids. I mean, not as good as it would be, say, if this was in late January or February, later in the season. But, I still think they're going to end up getting a good job. Yeah, don't jinx it there, Star Child. I'm very happy about that Potato Bowl first half so far. So let's so far. Yeah, but things can change, in so many of these just ask the Indianapolis Colts on Saturday against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't celebrate shit at halftime anymore. I don't care how my team that I bet on is doing.
Yeah. Let's just hopefully they win here.
Yeah, exactly. But good start for the Chris Creighton's in Eastern Michigan. All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along here, back to basketball, Virginia and Miami. We've got right now in this game, it was pick 'em -1, and it's been a huge flood of money essentially to Virginia. Up to 2-point road favorites, and then they were bet up even further. And now we're looking at 3.5, even 4 with Virginia's road favorites in this game. 131. The total's been bet down. I agree. I think the under's probably not a bad play here. I do like Virginia. I still like them. Not as much, obviously, after the move, but I would still think get in there with a small bet, maybe lower the stakes, lower the amount a little bit. But I like the spot for Virginia. I cashed a ticket going against Virginia on Saturday with Houston, and Houston got the job done against Virginia. But I want to go back on them here. They are better than Miami, in my opinion. I know the Hurricanes have had some okay results at times, and I know they're an undefeated home team, 8-0. But I'll tell you what, in those home games, they played SFPA, St. Francis, Pennsylvania, NC State, which was a nice win, NC State, but they're not Virginia quality. Rutgers, we know Rutgers has issues on the road. St. Francis, Brooklyn, Florida A&M. You know what I mean? They haven't played anybody as good as Virginia at home. You've got Virginia off a loss, like I said, against Houston. I think you're going to see them bounce back. First loss of the year. I agree with the move to Virginia. You got an undefeated home team, but they're a home dog here for a reason. They're not the better of these two teams, and I think it's going to show tonight. I like Virginia here in this one as the short road favorite. And keep in mind, too, with this game, you've got certainly a situation where offensive rebounding is porous for Miami. Virginia is very good, not allowing second, third chances. So you're probably going to see a lot of one and done from the Miami team offensively against that pack line defense. We'll see. And the thing, too, is Miami is much more of an inside scoring team. They're not great shooting the three ball, and you've got to be able to score. And if you rely on the inside scoring and scoring around the rim and in the paint area, guess what Virginia does with their pack line defense? They choke that off. They do not allow a ton of penetration in the lane, a ton of inside scoring. So it's probably a tougher matchup. Miami's going to have to make some threes if they're going to win this game, and they're not a great three-point shooting team. What do you think here, Conor, Matt?
Yeah, they're not good defensively. That's just I don't like. Two, when I glanced at this, I said, yeah. And the big thing is off the loss. That's what I don't. If they come in here maybe off an easy win, that's what's made it difficult. Virginia's kind of beat up on Miami. Every time they come here, it seems like they won the last 6 or 7 years. There's been a couple close games. I lean under. Let's talk total in this one. You know what's key, though, with Virginia is Beekman. This guy, I think he's their best defender. He was hobbled. He did not look good in the Houston game, I thought. And a decent score, could score 10 to 12. I think he's key. And on the other side, he guards Wong or any of their guards. And you talked about they want to get inside, get those two, create their shot. But if they kind of get hot and get to the rim and get the foul, they could be in this one. This is tough. Like when it touched 4.5, I was thinking – maybe look at Miami. I think in the end I'll be off. And like I said, lean under on the total. We're getting some buyback though. Fours are basically gone now, So that's kind of what I thought. If it touched 4.5, it'd come back.
No, I like them offensively. I just hate them defensively. And again, their strength has been scoring in the paint, penetrating the lane, attacking the rim. And Virginia doesn't allow that. I mean, just the way they play defense. So, that's why I worry. Like, they're not that great of a perimeter shooting team. And usually that's what you have to do if you're going to beat Virginia. You got to make your threes. All right, next up, we continue along. Another Big East game, Seton Hall, Xavier. Xavier, 8.5 point favorites, 143.5 the total in this one. Seton Hall for the longest time, when they were an underdog, I'd be very interested taking points with them. I still am a little bit, but I'll tell you what, Xavier, going against this team, I don't know if that's something I'm overly excited about doing. They're playing really well. This Xavier Musketeers squad. Sean Miller's come back to the team after a run at Arizona. I remember he initially started his coaching career here and certainly done a nice job. Soli Baum, has been very good for them offensively, leading them, doing a nice job. Seton Hall coming off the loss against Providence, where, look, Providence got all the key stops down the stretch. Second half, they turned that deficit into a win. The Friars did against Seton Hall. Couldn't hold a lead, so very disheartening loss for Shaheen Holloway's group. They'll look to bounce back here. It is worth noting, too, Saturday, that they're starting a guard, Femi Odukale. There we go. Femi Odukale did not play in that game against Providence on the weekend. So let's see what his status is for this game. Questionable right now with the ankle injury. They're a little bit banged up right now, Seton Hall. That is a concern as well. There's a couple key cogs. Abdu Njai, questionable. Jaquan Harris is also questionable for Seton Hall tonight in this game. So, I'm always usually interested in the Pirates as an underdog, but I don't know. Xavier's playing quite well, and if they're short-handed tonight, where's that offense going to come from? I know they're defensively capable, but stopping Xavier on the road is going to be a tough task, and I worry that they could dig in defensively for a while. But if they're not making shots, eventually Xavier and that offensive balance they have is going to wear them down. So I actually lean favorite a little bit here in this one. What do you think, Connor?
I was thinking the same. It's stretching it here. It's Seton Hall. They want to slow this down, like you mentioned, play defense, muck this up, and they better hope they can hit shots. And you mentioned too many question marks with some of their guys. I just don't know if they can keep up with Xavier in this one. I think they win here at home. It's just if you want to lay it. And if they get in their thing, like an inmate locker room, it will go over. But Seton Hall can play some good defense. Xavier, all right, defensively. It's still so early in the year, but I don't know what to make. I think they win. I just don't know if they cover the number here.
All right. Next up here, ACC matchup, Pittsburgh and Syracuse. We've got Syracuse 3.5, 4-point favorites, 138 the total. I'm on the Pitt side one more time. We've been taking Pitt a bunch here on the Net Profit Show. They've now covered 7 straight games, 7-0 straight up, or actually 6-1 straight up, 7-0 against the spread. And the only straight up loss was 1-point road loss at Vanderbilt. I mean, I got to give Jeff Capel credit. I mean, Pittsburgh, after, a bit of a sluggish start to the year, they've certainly gotten things rolling as of late. They've played well. John Hughley, his resurgence in the lineup has mattered. Federico. It's one of the better names that you'll see. 22 points in the last game. Blake Hinson's chipped in. This team, I think, is way better offensively than they've been in years past. They're actually making shots. They're actually scoring into the mid-70s in most games. They've been great on the glass. And to be honest with you, we've got a potential advantage here for Pitt in the rebounding battle. They are a terrific offensive rebounding team, and Syracuse is a brutal defensive rebounding team. And look, when you play the 2-3 zone, you're often going to have issues rebounding the basketball at times. When you play that style of basketball, it's not always going to be beneficial for your ability to rebound out of the zone. But I think when you look at this year, Pitt's been very good. They've covered 7 in a row. Syracuse is starting to play a little better. I'll give them that. You look at the 3 of the last 4 games, they've played better. They beat Oakland, beat them down at home, beat down Georgetown, beat up Cornell, all at home. They beat Monmouth by 15 points. They had a nice win at Notre Dame, 62-61. No, Jim Boeheim's squad is playing their best basketball this season after a bit of a sluggish start too. But I still can take points with Pitt, a team that's going to, I think, have the edge on the glass in this game, competitive game, a team that's been undervalued for weeks, getting points. I'm on the Pittsburgh side here, 3.5, 4. What do you think here, C-Mac?
I do too, a little bit. It seems like everyone, like Syracuse, thinks they here at home win and cover. But Pitt, whether it's been on a neutral floor or a few games on the road, I thought it played well. NC State, they lost to Vandy by 1. Northwestern, they beat the shit out of them. You mentioned scoring for them is key, and that's what I've seen more, especially the last 6 games. They've been able to hit shots, like you mentioned, Henson, all these guys have played well. So I kind of lean the points. I haven't bet it, but that's the way I'd look. I think Pittsburgh could hang around here. This will be a close one.
Yeah, I think the reason this line has stayed pat where it is, there was concern about the status of Hughley. I think he's going to play, honestly. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. It sounds like he is going to give it a go tonight, which is important. He's been obviously one of the main catalysts for this great run that the Pittsburgh Panthers have put together. So definitely, again, a team that's been very good to me from a betting standpoint now for many games in a row. And I've been using Pitt on this show for many games. We're going to come back to the Pitt Panthers here tonight, plus the points against Syracuse. All right, final game of the marquee game portion of the show. Then get your Q&A questions ready, and we'll answer as many as possible. Oklahoma, Florida. Florida 3-point favorites here, 133.5 the total in this game. This one, by the way, is taking place at neutral court here between these two teams, Gators and Sooners. I agree with the move to Florida. I like Florida still, even at 3. It's gone up a bit. I think Florida, just overall, when you look at this team, they're more ready to win games like this right now than Oklahoma. I think Porter Moser's team, their bumps in the road have mostly come against, the best teams on their schedule, Villanova, Arkansas. I think they're going to be challenged here a little bit by this Florida Gators team. Florida on the other side, they're coming off one of their best games of the year. Ohio's not a bad basketball team. They totally dismantled the Bobcats 82-48 in Tampa in their last game. Great offensive game because they got Lofton, Kyle Lofton, Alex Fudge, Trey Bonham, Reeves, all getting double digits. Castleton was very impactful in terms of rebounding the basketball along with Fudge as well in that one for the Gators. You look at this stylistic matchup here. You've got certainly a Oklahoma squad that at the offensive end of the basketball court, pretty good. But defensively, it's been a little up and down for them. Same with Florida. It honestly has been. But I think when you look at Florida here, I think the difference and the key is going to be just the improvement that they're making defensively game by game. Slowly but surely, it's coming back for Todd Golden's team. They've really emphasized that the last week or so in practice. They definitely have a size advantage in the low post with Castleton. I think that's going to matter because all of a sudden you're looking at a situation where Florida's gotten the major advantages here with the defensive rebounding. Oklahoma, pitiful offensive rebounding team. So if they can get initial stops, Florida, I think that's going to be significant for their cause going into this game. So I like Florida here. Anything 3 or less, I'd still look to lay it here with the Gators in this one. Conor, what do you think here? Oklahoma, Florida.
I don't have much in this one on this neutral floor. Castleton is great, says they're playing a lot better. Are they? I'm not, they're not at home. But this one was tough for me. Can Oklahoma shoot it well? If they can, I think they're in this. This total's gone down, which I agree, but it's gone way down. So I think you keep liking it goes under. I'd want the points. It went 3.5. It's kind of stayed. Now there's 3s. I'm just going to be off. I don't want Florida right now. I just don't want to lay any points with them.
For some people, they've got to maybe show you a little bit more. I thought, like I say, I think even though it was Ohio, you could quibble, hey, you're playing Ohio, but that was dominance, and we'll see if they can carry that over. I actually think it's a good thing, that they actually beat the hell out of somebody like that, and it's not a bad team. So we'll see how they fare here in this one.
Yeah.
It is.
I think Oklahoma has the better defense.
Yes.
I think they could be in this game, in the end. So I'd want the points if I had to bet it.
And you're getting a good number. So if you like Oklahoma, you're definitely getting the best of the number right now. That game is not on major television, Mississippi State and Drake. By the way, it's 24-21 with 5 minutes to go in the first half. So game definitely on pace for the under right now in that one, but still very early with the Bulldogs. Bulldogs versus Bulldogs. It's what it is. It's a battle of Bulldogs there in that Mississippi State Drake game. All right, Conor, any games on the slate we haven't talked about that you're liking tonight?
No, we touched on. Yeah, there's a couple that I just wanted to talk about. I think the Dartmouth UMass game. Dartmouth has been a good under team. I think they keep this game. I liked it better at 140. It's come down. I still think at 138, the under in that game with UMass. I think they'll just muck it up. That'll be in the 60s under. This one was interesting. How about Lipscomb, Louisville? Louisville got the win, which we all thought. What was that? Western Kentucky, right? Their first win. Barely beat Florida A&M by 5 or 6. I think you take Lipscomb. They played teams close. They lost to Michigan by 8. They lost to Notre Dame, but they have good wins. Belmont, a few other ones. I take Lipscomb. The only thing is, I thought you get 3 here, but no. They finally are. The books are saying, wow, this Louisville team is not good. They still can't shoot it here. I think Pruitt, they got a slew of guys that can shoot inside out. I think Lipscomb can beat them here tonight. So I like Lipscomb a little bit.
I'm never going to tell anybody fading Louisville is a bad idea. It's a question of, are we at the point? Like, this is insanity. This is Louisville on their home fucking court. Pick them against Lipscomb. Like, that's where we're at right now with Louisville. But I might stay off that because look, Louisville did get me once with the Western Kentucky game, where that was they didn't just beat Western Kentucky. They won handily. And was it a sign that they're coming around? I don't know. But I'd still lean Lipscomb. Don't get me wrong. I still want no part of Louisville. But at least they're showing a little flicker of life.
both these teams not good, but Louisville can't rebound, can't shoot it. All these just horrible things. So, yeah, it's just I thought you get 3, 4. And when I like last night, I was like, maybe Lipscomb. No, it's a pick 'em basically. So I still lean them. I think they could win. You're just not getting anything here.
All right, let's go to some Q&A from the chat. We've got Keith Landry, good someone that's always on Twitter, I notice, and watching our stuff. Prairie View A&M plus 17.5. I smell a letdown, he says in this one. Yeah, I smell it too. Like I say, this is not obviously a great Prairie View A&M team, but this is not a spot coming off a big win in the Patino Bowl, son versus father, and New Mexico getting the better of it against Iona. This is not the spot to be laying 17.5. I'll tell you that. Don't love Prairie View A&M, but I'd certainly lean that way. I don't want the favorite.
Yeah, I thought so too. I looked at this a ton. Prairie View at times just can't score. New Mexico, maybe they wake up. Maybe this is the first half. You look at Prairie View, can get them. It's probably, I have to look it up, 11, but maybe they could hang around. They sometimes can hang. It's just, man, at times they can't score. And New Mexico, we know they could score a ton, that offense.
Yeah, I like the over in that Montana State-Arizona game, Ian Jackson, Ian to Ian. I like the over. I mean, I think, look, Montana State's good offensively. Danny Sprinkle's a good coach. They run a pretty good offensive basketball team. They're going to struggle to stop Arizona because they got very little size. And, when you're dealing with Ballo and you've got Tubelis, those two big behemoths in the paint for Arizona to deal with, that's a lot. So Arizona's going to get a lot of easy baskets. I think the over's the better look there. I don't want to lay 21.5 though either with Arizona because they're coming off one of their big wins, revenge win against Tennessee over the weekend. So it's not a great Arizona spot, but I do think they're going to have a tough time Montana State defending them. So that's why I like the over in that.
You're not going to catch me on the under on that game.
No, should be a lot of points. I like the over there. That actually is a game I bet. So I didn't mention the games I bet that we didn't talk about, but there's not many. That was one of them, though. Montana State and Arizona. What else have we got in the chat? Yeah, Air Force. I like Air Force. Yeah, I do like Air Force. I'm a little bit perplexed that the money's come in on Northern Colorado like that. The Bears, Air Force going to look to slow it down going into that game against Northern Colorado, and I think they'll be successful in doing that. I find a lot of times that Air Force team is also very tricky to prepare for on a short turnaround, and that could be an issue there. So I like Air Force as well in that game. A Star Child, you're right. We talked to Indiana, Elon. I like the team total for the Hoosiers over more than the full game, but I lean full game over as well. Queens and Nebraska from Rob Free. I like Queens. There, plus the points against Nebraska. I mean, Queens is one of those teams that, they're not the greatest defensive team. Their record's actually very good, 9-2. They haven't played a tough schedule by any stretch, but they've been totally undervalued in the betting markets. They are, in fact, 6-0 ATS in their last 6 lined games. Again, they haven't faced anybody like Nebraska, a Power 5 school. The only, I guess their toughest game, or one of them, was LaSalle, and they lost that game by 12. But when you look at Nebraska, they're off games against Purdue, Kansas State. They got this game, a non-conference game, after really 4 big games in a row. Creighton, Indiana, Purdue, Kansas State. They got this game at Flat Spot City, and then you go back into Big Ten play facing Iowa after this. I just don't think it's a spot to trust Nebraska to step up and lay double digits. So I like Queens a little bit.
I like them a little bit as well. I thought you could get 16, though. But I think they could hang a little bit. I don't trust. I got to see a little bit more. You mentioned going through everything today. They haven't played anybody, so tough. But I lean that way.
I always got to correct people too. I've had people ask me about Queens. What do you think about Queens New York University here, Queens New York College? It's not New York, folks. This is Charlotte. This is Queens University of Charlotte, North Kakalaki. This is not that Queens. This is not a school in Queens, New York. So I just want to, even though they're called Queens, don't assume it's Queens, New York. It's not. This school is Queens University of Charlotte that we're talking about here. All right. What else have we got here? Next up in the Q&A, UMass and Dartmouth. I mean, UMass should steamroll Dartmouth. Dartmouth's terrible. They really are. But, you are talking about little proximity rivalry here. You are talking about a UMass team that's been a little bit flighty at times. I mean, they really should overwhelm Dartmouth. And the money has come in on UMass, 12.5 up to 16, but it's gotten up there just a little bit. I don't want Dartmouth, though. I know that.
I think it's moved too much and a little bit, and I'm on the under. Dartmouth, this team is slow in the 50s. So even if UMass scores 70, in that range, I don't know if Dartmouth, maybe gets the mid 50s. So even at 138, now there's a few 137.5 under. I mean, I'm on that already. So.
All right, there we go. Liking the under in that one. Army and Central Connecticut from Isaiah in the chat in that one. You look at those two teams there. Central Connecticut is a team that, 2-10. They've not been very good the last couple of seasons. I make no mistake about that. But they're showing signs now of being a little undervalued. I mean, they beat Dartmouth. They beat Manhattan as underdogs. They covered against Fordham. So these teams that are bad and then they suddenly start covering point spreads, kind of like we've seen out of Chicago State, sometimes you can take them right now, and this is when the value starts to show up on these teams. And Army's been the polar opposite. They've been overvalued. They were 7-point dogs at Rhode Island. They lost by 10, favored in their last game a couple days ago against Stony Brook. They lose 66-59. Where's their offense gone? Down the garbage chute all of a sudden. They've struggled to score the last few games. Now, Central Connecticut struggles to defend. That's something you worry about. And the rebounding edge, there's a pretty wide gap between these two teams. But you are talking about a game here where, you're talking about Army and Central being, Army being favored on the road. They've been overvalued. I don't have the guts to pull the trigger with Central Connecticut here, but I'd lean that way.
Yeah, I want nothing there. Army's just not playing great. I don't want anything there.
All right, couple more, and then we'll get to best bets. Harvard and Avid and UC Irvine in that one. I'll tell you what, it's a tough travel spot for Harvard. I don't know if this is as good of a Harvard team. I kind of lean the laying the points there with Irvine and Jackson State, Alabama. I mean, Alabama should roll, no pun intended, roll tide, but flat spot city. So I'm not involved in it.
Yeah, I'm not involved. You just mentioned, though, the Harvard. What a shitty, spot for them. It's just, and they're a team, if they are playing good defense and kind of hitting some shots, they'll be in a game. But if not, they could lose by 15 to 20. Yeah, I'm off in the end in that game. Irvine's kind of been an over team at times this year, scored a little bit more. So I'm off the total there. I know it's going down. I think it's like 133.5.
Yeah, Arkansas, Little Rock, and Central Arkansas. I like Little Rock. They're a better defensive team. Little Rock plays defense. Central Arkansas doesn't play much. I actually think that's worth a bet. I'm probably add that, actually. Arkansas, Little Rock. I like them at home against Central Arkansas. Better defensive team there. We talked about Zona and Montana State. I like the over in that game, Sonny. And UConn first half full game split. And I think we both kind of leaned to the over there, Georgetown, UConn, but I didn't pull the trigger on the total there. An over in Gonzaga. Yeah, I'll never say under in a Gonzaga game. I don't know if Montana, will they score enough, but Gonzaga will get their points against Montana. So I lean over there. There we go.
Yeah. Total maybe a little bit lighter too. Usually a Gonzaga game seems it's in the mid 150s, and it always seems to sometimes go right over under. Drive me nuts. The last 4 or 5 years, sometimes on their total.
So I like Queens there. Yeah, and I like Queens, Sonny. We talked about that game a minute ago. Yeah, Queens plus the points against Nebraska. All right. Thanks for the Q&A, guys. We appreciate it very much. Favorite over on the card. Actually, it's a game we haven't talked about. It's my favorite over. It's Southern Indiana IPFW over the total. I like that one. I think it is one of my favorite overs on the board tonight. Southern Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne. Over 149 is what I got. It's 149.5, 150 right now. I think you'll see points in that game. It's one of my favorite totals right there. So there you go. Good stuff. All right, Conor. Best bets coming up right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101, manscaped.com, 20% off free shipping with promo code PubSports. Cal 707 Bear, one last question since he sent it in. Yes, I do. I almost might, and I almost will bet Pacific. I almost did. I haven't yet, but I definitely would only look Pacific, laying the double digits on the road against Lamar. Lamar is that bad. Lamar is horrible. There's no backing Lamar for me. And I think Pacific's been kicked around a little bit. Haven't been as good lately, but this is their get well spot. Feast on a horrendous basketball team. So Pacific or nothing for me in that game for sure. Great stuff. But do you have anything there, Connor?
No, I'm off there. I think Pacific wins. I just didn't want to lay the number.
Didn't want to lay that many. All right, good stuff. Best bets here to wrap it up for this edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Connor Mack, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, Dartmouth UMass, we talked about it. 140 under, still 138, 137.5. It goes under. And Providence, to pick them, they win at home tonight. That's it.
All right, there we go. Providence and the under there, mentioned by Connor Mack. With Dartmouth
UMass under. Yep. Providence pick 'em.
Providence pick 'em. Yep, exactly. Yep. Best bets. Two best bets there for Connor Mack on this edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Best bet for me, Wake Forest plus 6.5. I think is the best number we can get right now against Duke. First true road game of the year for Duke. Wake's been good in the underdog role. They went to Wisconsin, beat the Badgers. Now they're a home dog. Duke team that's never been in this situation yet this season. Duke's going to be good January, February, and March. They're still working through things, getting used to John Shire now as the head coach. He's working through is changing his rotations a lot, trying to get the chemistry right. Not the kind of profile I'm looking for in a 6.5-point road favorite against a capable Wake Forest team. So Wake Forest plus 6.5 against Duke for my best bet here for this Tuesday college basketball card. And that'll wrap up this edition of Net Profit. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We will be back tomorrow. We got 2 more shows before the Christmas break, tomorrow and Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Pub Sports Radio. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.